All right, welcome back to Reds Country Radio. It is June 19th, and well, the Reds are back in last place in the Central. Good news, they are still just 1.5 games out of the wild card. It is a weird year in the NL. The Reds are still hanging in there, and they're about a week away from getting Noel V. Marte back. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm Donnie. Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How about you? Everything's pretty good right now. Other than a couple of those things you mentioned, the last time we had all potted, we were all in person together. So it's nice to see all your kind faces again, albeit through the computer screen.
Of course. Rob, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Donnie. Trying to stay cool in this sweltering June heat we find ourselves in the Ohio River Valley, but we're thriving.
Yeah, it's a hot one today. I was out and about, hung out at my girlfriend's apartment pool. It was a brutal one.
But 7 inches from the midday sun.
Yeah, right. I guess we shouldn't really be talking considering Steve lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and deals with 110 degrees every now and then. So
yeah, it's just different though. I mean, like the humidity, all my coworkers are from like East Coast, or not all of them, but there's a couple that are from East Coast, and we've all agreed that the humidity with 90 degrees is worse than the 110. So
fair enough.
I'm feeling it for you guys.
Yeah. Hey, at least we're not in England where they're dealing with 78 degrees over there right now. That's tough.
Oh, the poor limey bastards.
Yeah.
That was just, it's always funny when those tweets pop up because I remember Europe last year, there was like a 90-degree heat wave, and a lot of those buildings just don't have AC, which that does suck. But 78, that was kind of funny.
All right, boys. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. We went on a nice little winning streak to kind of give the season some life. We got back to basically 500. Felt like we had turned the corner. Tough road stretch here. Went 2-4. Still kind of on pace to be where we talked about last time we got together. As soon as it almost makes you think of like when you get hot at a gambling table. You win those 7 games in a row. You keep it going really after that. Hovering around 500, it's like, oh, we're gonna blow past 500. We're gonna be challenging for first place in the Central. We're gonna easily have this locked up. And then you get a little brought back to earth. Like, okay, this team is still basically just a middle of the road NL team. Does that kind of echo how you guys are feeling?
At the moment, currently, yeah. It seems like they'll get hot. Like they got one hot. They went 7 games in a row. Then all of a sudden they go on this road trip and they're finishing below 500. I think it's just going to be a season of ebb and flows the rest of the way out, at least until the All-Star break, at least, unless they decide to make a move or something. But I'd say it's about par for the course so far, about what I expected, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still thinking that there's a key that they can turn on, but as we get past the 40, 50, 60, 70 game markers, it's less of, oh, they're just figuring it out, and more of, oh, this just might be who we are this year. And like, as we've talked about in the past, and we'll talk about again on the show, the injuries are just really a killer this year. And then, eventually we are at 74 games now. The countdown for Marte is at 6 more games until he comes back. And I guess that is technically not a given that he would come right back, but I mean, come on, like he'll be back, like if not immediately, like pretty close. So
he's on a rehab stint in AAA, right, in Louisville.
Yes.
And so I think he's been playing okay. He's had a couple big moments, but the idea is, you could have him stay there a little longer if he's not fully ready. Or I think there should be a spot for him on the team. I don't know who we would send down. Probably one of the backup outfielders, Hurtubise, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. You probably send down Hurtubise just because, Hurtubise is a lefty, but you already have a lefty in Martini, and you probably want that righty bat in Marte. So, and then you can always call back up Hurtubise if he starts to play well again, AAA, and send Martini down. So, it's just the injuries, man. The injuries have been a killer for us this year. I think we're really missing Matt McLain this year too. He's kind of like he was kind of that rock for us last year. I mean, I know Elly had all the flashes and stuff, but McLain was up the longest, and he was probably our most consistent rookie out of all the guys last year. So it just sucks, man. Like just it is what it is, unfortunately.
Well, and I hope we didn't lose TJ Friedel again. It's been 2 straight games now that he hasn't played right. I think since he came out of the game after making a diving catch the other night. Man, especially I hope this is one of those situations where he tries to play through it, or we wait way too long to send him to the IL, and we're playing a man down the whole time. Who knows? That he could be the guy you send to the IL when Marte's back and you punt on any other decision. It seems we have a tendency to kind of, I mean, obviously, with how bad injuries have been, you don't want to force yourself into that, but it feels like we could have handled some of these better.
Did they give an official diagnosis on TJ Friedel? I apologize if they have already. I just haven't really been paying attention to the socials recently.
So just Bally tweeted out last night before the game that he felt fine, but they were just giving him like a day or two just to get back. But it still could be like a quick IL.
And they said the same thing about Christian Strand, and now he could be potentially missing the entire season. So,
yeah. I did want to ask you guys that. I'll ask it after I give my take on CES. It just sucks, man. Like, I think maybe we were putting a lot on him, like kind of being like one of the real pot stirrers for this team this year, and he was injured. He only had that one big moment, and then kind of just then got injured again and wasn't able to really do much. And unfortunately, he might be out for the season, like you said. But I'm kind of wondering though, like, and then with the Don, I want you to give your opinion on Brandon Williamson as well, because I have on the ticker B. Will on here. So if you could share your opinion.
So I mean, I think you guys would agree. As incredible as our starting pitching has been, our depth has very quickly disappeared. Even a guy like Nick Martinez hasn't been pitching really all that great lately. Frankie Montas has been a little shaky. We had to send down Graham Ashcraft, who, man, for as many good moments as he has some really bad ones. You look even at a guy like Connor Phillips, who, young guy as he is, pitched at the major league level very well last year and seems like one of the worst pitchers in all of baseball now. Really feel for that guy. And Brandon Williamson was the guy, okay, finally it seemed like he was going to come back from injury, be a solid lefty arm out there. I thought he was a great pitcher last year. I thought it was crazy that he wasn't going to make the roster before he got hurt. And I thought that was a great sign for our depth. And now we can barely throw, Carson Spires is doing it as well as he can. But we basically barely have 3 starting pitchers at this point. So missing him is huge just for the innings eating, if anything. But I think his upside is way higher than people give him credit for. So I hope they do the right thing. I know there's always, whenever you hear that a surgery option is on the table and they decide we're just going to inject him with something and see how he does, or try to go the non-surgery route, I feel like it ends in surgery way more often than it doesn't. And maybe that's because you don't hear about it when the surgery option is successfully avoided. But man, I almost want to say, go ahead and just get the surgery. Let's get him back for next year, because I just see it going poorly, man. Too many times I feel like I've been hurt on him. Who's it? DeSclafani, I think, is the prime example of that, where they tried to have him pitch through it or continue to go through rehab or something, and then he ends up getting surgery, but it's like 6 months later, and so he misses like an entire half of the next season. And it's just, I try to be a little more rational than just I'll fire everybody when something doesn't go our way. But I hope the people that are paid full time to make these decisions, I hope they know what they're doing.
Seems to be the most sensible take out of all this, at least.
That's kind of what we try to do here at ATBBTTR, Rob. We try to find the middle playing ground. Not quite just, we want to have an opinion, but we want to keep both sides level-headed a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. It just worries me that we've had a lot of injuries this year, and I think it's just, I mean, but to your point, Don, I don't really think it's I don't really know who you can criticize, and that's why people get upset and then they're like, "Oh, fire the training staff. Everybody's terrible." Like, these are tinker toys. Like, they are real human beings, but like, for pitchers especially, like, you are just dealing with a lot of different ligaments and movements and stuff. It's really hard to kind of decipher those injuries, and science helps us get better at it. But like, it's still just hard. And, like, I feel really good about what Hunter Greene's done. Obviously he had to get the full TJ, but he's come back, and like, we saw him pitch today as we record. He looked really good. He's not really shown any signs of having any injury after that unfortunate TJ, where he had to go down, get clipped, and then figure that out. I've really liked what, Graham Ashcraft came back well for the first couple starts this year before going down, not for injury reasons, but for fixing his pitches. Lodolo has come back and been basically like an even better version of the pitcher that we thought he might be. So there are definitely reasons to, be upset in the moment when these injuries happen. But I think that should be a credit to the staff, is that, like, guys just aren't not career ending, you know what I mean? But they're able to come back and produce, even though it sucks at the time to lose them. Like, just being able to rehab them and them come back is great. And like, think about Votto last year too. Votto was hurt, all of the end of 22, and that was a lot on him. But I have to think that, since he was still under contract with the Reds were still going through the paces with him and making sure that he was rehabbing fully, and he still was able to come back and produce. So, and, like Jake Fraley got hurt last year. This year, not as much power. There's definitely some cases where, maybe it's worrisome, but I say all that to say, I feel like if the Reds are doing these things right, because if they weren't doing them right, like, we would not have seen what Nick Lodolo is right now. Is just like like winning 8 of his 11 starts this year, and the Reds, like, and him just looking unstoppable in some of these games that he pitches.
I think there's 3 things that every fan base, and I think this is a lot of it, is baseball is such a regional sport. You really just watch your team. You don't see as many national games. 3 big things that most fans don't really realize: injuries, bullpen, and manager. Everyone has the same complaint. Every single team thinks no team is getting injured more than them. Every single team thinks they have the worst bullpen and bullpen management in all of baseball, and every single team wants their manager fired. You can go search some of the best managers in the sport on Twitter, and you will see dozens and dozens of people complaining about them, wanting them fired. After every loss, especially. I think every baseball fan, the passion is great. I love it, but everybody thinks their team is in the worst situation possible, and no one else is dealing with that. Big names in the sport get injured every year. And there's all the little guys that, names that we don't recognize necessarily, but core players to a lot of teams. Those guys go down too, but it doesn't really, you don't really notice that as much. Everybody deals with a ton of injuries. I think the funny thing that kind of emphasizes that, I don't know if you guys have ever played out of the park baseball. It's like a baseball simulator where you basically, you're running the team from the management level and ownership. Like, you control the entire organization. It's super fun. And for, if you're a baseball nerd like me, there's the default setting for injuries is like a tier down of frequency. And it's because they originally made it realistic, and the injury frequency it was so many injuries that people were just so frustrated with it, and they thought it was not real. And they're like, no, this is the standard frequency. So the default setting now is like one frequency less of injuries, just so that people aren't as frustrated. But that's real, and that's every year you're going to have that. And so we talk a ton about depth, and it's never been more important. Some years are better than others in injuries, and that's how it's just going to go. And we've seen teams lose their best player. The Atlanta Braves, they lost Acuna, and they still won the World Series. Pretty different teams, of course, but it doesn't have to end your season. It doesn't have to mean you can't have a solid year.
Yeah, completely agree. I was just thinking about an example, Donnie, of that. So like those first 2 series we played against the Phillies in like early and mid-April, I saw like Phillies fans commenting on like the loss post when I was going in there to like shit post, and they're like, oh man, I can't deal with Rob Thompson again. And look at them in like June, they're like the best team in the NL. So you're right. It's funny. And then I kind of noticed that with owners too. I think there's like 5 ownership groups that are adequate enough for their fan base. Everybody else is telling the ownership to sell the team. So that's just how baseball is, man.
Well, Winnie takes care of a lot of those complaints too, and the Reds haven't really been doing a whole lot of that this year either. So
that's sports in general, man. I mean,
that's true.
All the NFL fans are the same way. Basketball, hockey, it's hey, that's just how we are. That's human beings. But that's why it's fun. Yeah.
Some of you aren't built for 162, and it shows.
That's right. And hey, the good thing is the NL kind of stinks this year. We are still right in the mix. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but so a game and a half back. No need to be counting every game. Look, whatever. We've got a lot of games against the division this month. Obviously, that's important because every game is going to matter. When we have 84 wins at the end of the year, you can't count every single loss matters. Losing this series to the Pirates, that stinks. They're going to be right. We're going to be right in the mix with them the whole year. But how do you guys feel about how we're positioned? We're getting Marte back, of course. That's going to help a lot. What else do you think the Reds need to do between now and we're into June now. It felt like for a while we were still kind of in the beginning of the season. We're near the end of June. The trade deadline's approaching. The All-Star break's approaching. What do we need to do in the back half of the season, or to prepare for the back half of the season? Who do we need to acquire? Where do we go?
Well, I think the Reds are in a very advantageous spot considering what their record is and considering that only there's 4 teams in the National League with winning records right now, and they find themselves a game and a half out of the last wild card spot. So if the Reds just play good enough to hang around there and just kind of keep up with the league average, if you will, I think they'll be sitting pretty come the trade deadline. And then when they get to the trade deadline, I would like to see maybe go out and acquire like maybe a closer or a guy that you can throw in the back of the bullpen to close games down or keep them close. Maybe try to go out and get a 5th starter. I believe it was the Astros today. Did they sign Trevor Bauer? I believe it was that today.
Really?
I think so, from what I heard.
Rob, are you breaking news to me right now?
I don't. My cousin that lives in Texas, shout out to my cousin Trevor, texted me that the Astros signed Trevor Bauer, unless he was pulling my leg.
I don't know, man.
I didn't see.
Here you go. Viral claim. I don't know that it's true, Rob.
Oh, okay.
I think that was a hoax, as they call on the internet.
It must have been a hoax. I was given bad information. Sorry about that.
I was going to say.
Well, maybe the Reds should take a flyer on Trevor Bauer and make him the 5th starter in the rotation, since I can't freaking find a 5th starter.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find someone who's pitched.
Run it back. Another Cy Young year.
Just have him do spider tack and just get thrown out for 10 games every time. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's part of it. I don't know that I want Trevor. Personal life aside, I don't know that I want Trevor Bauer without the spider tack.
That's true.
I think that's a big part of it. No, I'm sure he gets. Do you think he's using that in the Mexican League? There's no way they can. There's no way they're as on top of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be lying to you if I said I follow any Mexican League ball. So
right, I got you.
Well, I apologize to our listeners out there for getting them all fired up. I was giving bad information. So
that would be a very Astros thing to do, right?
I was just here for the content. I just wanted to see what hell I would get.
All the memes, yeah.
Oh God. But yeah, going back to my point, I think if they're still in this by the trade deadline, I think you go out and they have the ammo and the pieces to trade to go get a couple extra arms, better arms, I think. Maybe a bat, who knows? I think it all just depends where they're at and what they want to do.
Yeah, I would say that you could probably improve. I mean, I think they would be fine with having Carson Spires down the stretch. And, the Reds had much worse starting pitchers last year, and they did all right. And then this year, you've got Abbott's been good. He's not. I don't know if he's been great by major league standards, but he's been good. And then Lodolo and Greene have been good. So you got 3 there. And then Montas, I feel like he's been about probably what we expected, maybe a little bit lower. So Rob, I like the 5th starter idea. I think eventually something will have to change with Diaz. Don't get me wrong, I like Diaz. I like him as a guy. I like having the entrance and all that stuff, but it's just been too much of a roller coaster that you can't really have in August and September when the importance is that much more heightened. So
have you seen the posts everyone loves to do where it's I forget what the actual picture is, but it's just like something complete destruction, and then it just says Alexis Diaz, the game is saved. We were up by 3. You gave up 2 runs and walked the bases loaded, and somehow got
walks the first guy every time he's out there. He can't help it. He just loves doing that.
Yeah.
Make it a little interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like our bullpen in general has that problem. They like to walk like the first 2 guys and then get out of the inning. Like to make it interesting.
So let me ask you, Don.
They love playing in traffic. They just absolutely love playing in traffic.
All considered, we're a top 10 bullpen. Most of the metrics.
It's the damnedest thing.
So, Don, do you think that's a location thing for the bullpen where they're really trying to just, dot pitches up on the edges and avoid bats, and then they just continuously miss? Because, I mean, like if you just look on the different like the game charts or the apps or whatever you use, you can see it. Like they are trying to like hit those edges, and I'm wondering just from the pitching perspective.
No, you're right. I'm thinking anecdotally, it's not like any of the guys are crazy wild. Like they're not throwing a ton of curveballs in the dirt. They're not missing the catcher entirely.
It's just missing the zone.
Pitchers. They're just and do you think that has anything to do with a philosophy that comes from Derek Johnson down, that could be specific to, hey, we play 81 games in Great American Ballpark. You got to do everything you can to miss bats in a close game. One swing of the bat, one ball you leave over the plate, and it's a home run. Which it's funny enough, we have a problem with that, right? It's you're trying to work on the edges, and a couple guys get walked, and then I feel like it's always Lucas Sims. I like to point out. He looks disgusting. He'll strike out a guy. He'll maybe accidental walk. It was a tough battle of at bat, bloop single here and there. Strike out the next guy. Absolutely disgusting pitches. Looks unhittable, and then boom, leaks a fastball over the middle of the plate, and it's just sent into orbit. I feel like I've seen that inning play out exactly like 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Lucas Sims on during the Milwaukee series, it was a first pitch curveball, and it feels like I have no stats to back it up, but his first pitches, someone was saying, have been like demolished this year. Yeah. So maybe people are have that knowledge and they're sitting on it. And Adames is kind of a Reds crusher too, so I'm not really like too fazed by that. But I did want to ask you guys though, our guy Reds in 4, he's the Lucas Sims apologist on Reds Twitter, and I see it. Like I see like the stuff. I see stuff plus I see like the general idea of him. But my criticism of Sims is that like it's just not consistent enough. Like I think the Reds should sign him because I don't know how many other major league teams are really going to be looking for that. And he's still a serviceable bullpen arm. Like he can come into games, keep a clean inning. I'm like all good with signing him. It's not that I have a problem with that. It's more just that I have a problem with using him this year in that high leverage situation when Fernando Cruz had been used once in the last 5 days before that, and he's been your fireman all year. He's been called out of the pen in those exact situations to limit those games. And I don't, in the vacuum, I don't really care about losing game 71, but when it's the Brewers, it's a weekend series that could change the vibe for you and winning your first series against that team in 8 tries. I just think I've never done it, but I'm sure it's really hard to manage a bullpen. But did you guys have that same internal thought with me about just from that situation about why wasn't Cruz the pick there?
Yeah, I kind of did, but at the same time, I also want them. He's clearly been our best bullpen pitcher all year, and they've used him extensively so far through Game 71. Kind of echoing a point that Nick Kirby made on the Chatterbox podcast a few days ago was they're going to run this guy into the ground if they keep using him over and over in situations like that. But I agree that the fact, though, it probably would have been the correct move to bring him into the game and use him there. But you also got a fresh arm, Lucas Simpson there, who's proven in the past that he can get you out of these jams. So it's, I don't know, did David Bell kind of find himself in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, perhaps?
Yeah, and I don't have off the there was a Twitter account maybe last season that always would throw out there who pitched out of the bullpen recently and how many pitches they threw. I don't know if whatever account that was still does that, but I know for a fact they do that. The team does that, and they know exactly who's available and who isn't, who's rested and who isn't. So who knows? It could have been one of those situations. I think every arm in our bullpen can get guys out, but it's kind of like with hitting. Your best hitters are still going to get out 70% of the time, and so you can't expect every reliever to be a 0.0 ERA. That's just not how the world works.
Yeah, and the Reds should be scoring more runs if they want. I mean,
that's a lot of it.
You can score 3, but if you're playing the Brewers, I just sent in the account of the guy who's doing that. So I just sent him, for example, of I think it's Gingersaurus Rex. Shout out to him or them. I don't know, but I do agree. Again, it's a vacuum, right? Like in same vacuum, Carson Spires giving up. Is it Spires or Spears? I want to
Spears.
Is it Spears?
Now I don't know. I have no idea.
Because I keep hearing Cowboys say Carson Spires, but
Spires.
Did you hear him on the after that splitter that Greene threw today? Just laughing. Oh, it just tremendous. We only get a few of those every year. The Cowboy genuine laugh, but it was out in full force. So.
That was tremendous. That's a good time to bring up that Hunter Greene stat I sent to the group today that C. Trent Rosecrans tweeted.
That was incredible. What a find that was.
I mean, we knew that Hunter Greene doesn't get much run support. That's just somehow a trend. And we just talked about that. Like you said, Steve, that the Reds just need to be scoring more runs sometimes. And a lot of these bullpen and starting pitching issues just sort of go away. But Hunter Greene has made 4 starts at PNC Park, the home of the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Reds have lost all 4. In those 4, he's 0-2, pitched 25.2 innings, given up 10 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of those earned. That's a 0.70 ERA, no home runs, 10 walks, 34 strikeouts, 2 hit by pitch. The Reds have scored 1 run total in those 4 games. That is crazy. I mean, you would say it's bad run support if he had like 10 runs across those 4 games. 1 run? How does that happen to the guy? What did Hunter Greene put out into the world that he has such negative vibes in return, man? I don't know.
So it's the Jacob deGrom curse, You're a really good pitcher, and then for whatever reason your offense isn't back. Some days I might just rather have Hunter go out there and bat for himself. So I know he hasn't done that since 2019 or whatever, but man,
high school.
He probably wants to grab a bat and be like, "Look, here's how I'm going to do it."
You look at the stats that some of our platoon outfielders have put out recently, and I don't think Hunter could do worse.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Espinal did more this series than I had honestly forgot he was still on the active roster. You lose track of a couple things, and I feel like he hadn't started in about a week or 2, and I saw the notification Santiago Espinal hits a home run. I was like, he's still on the roster right now. That was shocking.
I felt the same way, Steve. I felt the same way when I saw he hit the home run on Tuesday night. I was like, whoa, I forgot about him. Completely forgot about him.
So we're gonna just keep bouncing around, and that's how this podcast goes, right? No stats to back anything up, just vibes.
No, just vibes.
But I want to latch on to Espinal. So when Marte's back. We don't think Espinal is going to go down, or I don't even think that's possible with his contract. It's probably going to be Jacob Hurtubise or maybe Martini, probably Hurtubise. What does Espinal's role on the team look like once we have yet another infielder back?
Yeah, I think he would still be just a serviceable backup because he does have options. I do remember that from the trade, but I think you need backup infielders right now, especially without McLean. That was kind of the reason for getting him.
You think Steer becomes more of a full-time outfielder?
I would probably lean toward that. Yeah, and then you're starting.
Candelario is going to play a lot more first base.
Yeah, and then it's going to come more into rounding into what might have looked like if everybody was healthy to start the season. Candelario has played a lot more third base than they thought he would, but he's been solid over there defensively.
He's not the best in the field.
Okay, I'll go look it up. How about that? I'll look up and see.
There you go.
We'll actually back up something with research on this.
Well, okay, so you're going to look up some defensive metrics. How do you feel about that? The other debate that we can bounce around to, Elly De La Cruz is like, if you look at outs above average, so like kind of like WAR, right? It's how many outs that this defensive player adds above what what the standard shortstop would have made. He's top 10 in the NL, I think, maybe baseball, but he leads all of MLB in errors, which is like a much more quantifiable stat. It's an easier for the boomers to understand, and it can be frustrating watching him. He'll make a great play. He'll throw the ball 95 miles an hour and gun a guy at the plate. But then he does some boneheaded things in the field that you can see directly cause some losses sometimes, or lead to losses, I'll say. He's obviously such a young player, and he's getting better at the position. But are you guys frustrated or impressed by this year? Like, I look at the stats, and I don't know which I should be.
I don't blame you if you're upset with him, but I think you just got to take that in the vein that he is 22, and hopefully this is like the worst possible year that he has, just in that vein. And there was that one bad night in Philly at the start of the season, and for a stretch there he was really good, and then he's just had a couple bad errors for sure. And we were just talking about Diaz. You could kind of pin that Friday night Diaz appearance. It was a save at the end of the day, but like Elly did make a couple errors, just not just in that inning, but in that game too. So like he did help bring it closer. And by the way, Candelario, not very good. -1.
I think I was right.
Yeah, so I've got Candelario's defensive WAR stats pulled up, and he's negative 0.8 D WAR. He's tied with Will Benson on the worst in the team.
Oh, yeah.
Spencer Steer is down at the bottom of the list as well. He's a negative 0.5.
Yeah,
but Spencer Steer is playing a bunch of positions that he has never played before. Basically,
that's true.
Candelario has been. I mean, I guess he's been more of a first baseman, but he's got plenty of experience at third.
Yeah,
and he's just not very good.
Yeah, and he might be getting over that hill. So
he's hitting a lot better, though. I'll give him that.
The highest D WAR on the team is Stu with 0.4.
Stu couldn't catch that ball. No, just kidding. I did like that Rowdy thought it was gone off the bat and then had to put it in gear.
Walked halfway to first.
Yeah. I'm like, Rowdy Tellez, come on, man. Like, not this year. This year you should be hustling that ball out. I don't know what you're doing, but
the ball does not fly anymore.
So in the vacuum, though, for Elly, I said it in our group chat the other day, and I do believe it. Like, I think it's just the next thing that he's really got to add to his game. And then I think it's just right now he's really trying to be like not more focused, but there's a lot of focus for him and the team right now on his production at the plate, just because, his defense is definitely important, but the Reds need him to be a little bit more consistently producing, extra base hits and RBI for them at the plate. Like that's what he's there for. And then they just need him to get on base too, so that he can cause chaos, like we saw this past weekend against Milwaukee. So I don't want to. I'm not giving it a pass, right? It's not great, and he does have a good outs above average, but all those errors, like it's hard to look past, especially the Ks. Yeah. But I still just think about it like, man, he's 22. Like, if this is the worst he ever is, and it's in a year where we're injured a lot already, and those mistakes get more magnified just because we're playing in closer games because of the lack of talent that we have on the team. Those mistakes unfortunately get more magnified, and they are mistakes still. Like, I'm not gonna, like, it's not a pass, but my hope is that it's just the lowest point for his fielding in his career.
That's true. If this is the worst his defense is going to be in his career, that just goes to show just how high his floor is.
Yeah,
not his ceiling, but just how high the floor is for his defensive play.
I think the comments about the fielding, I feel like I've seen the exact same comments made about his running, where he's going to make some sick plays. He's going to run maybe when he shouldn't, and he's going to be safe anyway. He's going to be super aggressive, but then he's also going to get thrown out at really, really, really inconvenient times. And it's just like, if you just had stayed at third, we could have batted you into the next hitter, and instead it's an out. I think overall, more often than not, having him out there is better than not having him there.
Yes.
I don't think there's anyone that could argue with that.
Well,
offensively, he's
even with this 15 errors, he's a .2 D-WAR.
Yeah.
Do you guys think he will be our all-star rep?
Just by voting, he might be. He's the third in the position right now. So, like, I mean, Phillies fans are going to vote for Trey Turner, and I can see it. But just the overall popularity of Elly, I keep trying to vote for him every day. I forget to some days, but I try to continuously vote for him just because I think he has that chance. But I saw it the other day from our guy Reds in 4, 2 shout outs on the pod. You got to come on, and once we shout you out twice, you got to come on. But he did say that he thinks Nick Lodolo should be the Reds candidate, and I'm not really opposed to that because it seems like whenever we have a one candidate year for the Reds, it's usually like a pitcher. So I would not be surprised if it's Lodolo, but he's earned it too. It's not like he's just like the pick just because he's the best of a not great roster. He's earned it. He's been really good this year.
Yeah, it's not like Francisco Cordero, and he was the rep for the years for was it 3 or 4 years in a row? It seemed like, and he was just the only Reds guy in the dugout. Just it's a courtesy pick, because each team has to have a rep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick Lodolo's stats kind of snuck up on you a little bit since he missed his first, basically would have been his first 3 starts due to injury. But so missing those 3 starts and still leading the team by far in wins. He's 8-2 with a 2.76 ERA, 70 strikeouts, and just 15 walks. So he has the second most strikeouts among starting pitchers and the least amount of walks. That's pretty crazy. I don't know that I realized that his ratio was that good. He's having a fantastic season. He's been consistent. There's guys that have had starts as good as a lot of his starts, if not better. But he really hasn't blown up much at all. Early in the season, you could see him working to get things figured out a little bit. But he and Hunter as well, I would say, very much just an incredible 1-2 punch right now. You're going to get 6 solid innings at least. Yeah, I think Hunter too could deserve consideration. After another great start today, his stats look even better. He's in the low 3s in his ERA. If he has another really good start, he could be below 3, which is kind of a magic number for some people. So I hope Lodolo gets it. He deserves it, especially coming back from injury. I think that would be a really good. I think he would feel really good about that accomplishment on a personal level.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think maybe your other one too would be Fernando Cruz, just because of how good he's been, especially with the splitter, and another bullpen guy. Most of the past few years, since 2018, we've only had pitchers. The one exception was 21, where we had both Winker and Castellanos, and they both started the game too, which is like just how crazy Reds country can be, is that 2 Reds outfielders started in the same year. So, I
just forgot about that.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts when you think about that in retrospect, because I get it, man. Like, I know everybody's been shitting on them for, 30 years now, but it is crazy. Like, when the Reds are good, people get behind the team. So, I kind of forgot about that, how crazy that was, that they both won the fan vote that year.
Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, Elly has a chance to be at least be in the mix in the fan vote. And we know a guy like Mookie Betts just went down with an injury. Like, there's going to be, as far as shortstop goes, he's got a good chance to kind of be in the mix there. I would say Tyler Stevenson and Jeimer Candelario both deserve consideration. We'll see how they play in the next few weeks, and they could be, I don't know exactly how it is, a player vote or like manager selection kind of thing. They both, if they continue to play well, their stats are going to look like they deserve it, in my opinion. Candelario, especially, I was surprised he wasn't even anywhere on the list. But
do you think David Bell gets some say in that, considering he's on the manager's staff for the All-Star game?
Oh, that's right. I don't know.
Don't know how that would work, but
yeah, I think he would at least get the when they meet to pick the reserves. I think he has that opportunity to give his input.
So yeah, if those guys keep playing well in the next couple of weeks, around the time they make those decisions, they could be right in the mix. It's funny. Like last season, we're a team that's going to be right in the mix, and with just the courtesy, we have to give you an all-star kind of thing, and it's a weird spot to be. I hope we can be back at the point where we've got a team full of all-stars. This is a point that I wanted to make, kind of jumping off that, and sort of bringing us back to where we were before. The way that the NL in general, and really all of baseball, is very top-heavy, and then everyone else is kind of middling. The Reds don't have any they have one superstar, and then everyone else is whatever. A lot of other teams feel like that. I play some of these. We play against like the Pirates, and I look at their roster, and I'm not intimidated by any of them. Basically, what I'm getting at is back to the trade deadline kind of thoughts. With how bunched up the NL is there going to be a problem where no team is willing to sell, and the very few teams that are willing to sell are so bad there's like nobody you'd want, and everyone else is just kind of hanging out in the middle. There's a lot of teams that are going to be buying and not a lot of teams selling. How is that going to shake out? I feel like it's going to be a weird year for the trade deadline, and I feel like there's a chance we don't do much, or we get a kind of disappointing innings eater starting pitcher that's just going to kind of do what he can until the guys are healthy or figuring it out.
I would love, I read the C Trent blog a couple weeks ago or last week where he mentioned Robert for us, and brother, I would love
Luis Robert.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But you're right, Don. There's a lot of teams bunched up, and it's a lot of teams. I don't know if the Cubs would consider selling off because, they've got some different pieces. They don't really have a superstar, and they also don't have a ton of tradable pieces. They've got a lot of guys that are under contract for a few years. Maybe they might trade Ian Happ and finally get us rid of having to face Ian Happ. I think I'm just looking at it too. Maybe the Giants might trade somebody. They've kind of underperformed. They've had a couple guys get hurt, but you're right. I don't think the Padres would trade away. I think they would add. There's a lot of teams on here that the next month is huge. And we saw it in 21 when the Cubs were playing really well for a good 2.5 months, and then decided to just trade away. They lost I think they went 2-8 on a 10-game West Coast road trip, and then just traded everybody after that, especially Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo. That was a tough stretch. So it's
sure, a lot can change. A lot can change in the next month.
They call Saturday moving days, for majors, and this is kind of like the moving time for teams up and down. And I don't think it's a bad thing to not trade anybody, because we've all said and we all agree that you don't really need to make huge moves. And I know that I've seen a couple of people say well, last year was the year you should have made all your moves because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know when you're going to be injured and stuff. And while I get that, I think eliminating your peaks and valleys, you want to try and keep your window open as long as possible with all the guys you have. And I could see them getting rid of a couple of their lower tier prospects. The only prospect they really got rid of last year was Joe Boyle, and he's just not really turned out as a major league prospect so far. It doesn't help that a lot of our minor league guys are not really performing right now, but I'm not everything you've seen from the years that we've been competitive, 21 and 23, leads you to believe that they might just get a couple relievers and just call it a day. I don't really see them springing for that big trade, even if I do think it would springboard us forward.
Yeah, kind of sort of they did last year when they got Sam Moll.
Yeah, and then 21 it was Givens, Sessa, and Wilson. So
nice.
Yeah.
I will say just hearing you say that makes me think. So, like I said, though, it is usually easier to find a reliever at the trade deadline than a good starting pitcher. I wonder if they could just kind of do that and then in turn just turn Martinez back into a full-time starter. So that's in a way that's adding to your starting pitching by bringing him out of the bullpen.
So you just keep Spires as your long man then just go out and just get another bullpen arm to supplement the Martinez loss then?
I guess so. Although Martinez has been a little shaky when he's pitched bulk innings lately. It's tough, man. Baseball is it's a volatile sport. It's a game of streaks. It's a game of hot and cold. Guys can feel like the best players on the planet, and then suddenly you want to dump them off the team a little while later. But if hopefully, a guy like Will Benson, like, man, I hope he turns it around. I hope we don't have to send him down. The whole roster feels like they've got little pockets where that's happening right now. It's tough.
Yeah, completely agree. I thought it was weird today too, like not to get game to game too much, but I thought it was weird that Martinez was the one that was called up for the 8th inning. Like, I know you just use Cruz, but I don't really see Martinez in that 8th inning kind of like set up, like lock it down role. He's kind of been more of our long man or either middle relief guy. So I did think it was a little bit weird to have him out there in the 8th. And I know that the home run ball just snuck.
That could go back to availability. I mean, we've been doing bullpen games more. We've continued to use some of those high leverage guys almost every night. If you have a chance to get some guys some rest, of course you want to win every game, and so in theory you'd want your best pitchers pitching, but you got to think about the next game.
Yeah. And also, like, if the game for whatever reason goes into 10, 11, 12 innings, you still have Martinez out there. He can eat those innings.
Yep.
You have to run through the bullpen.
Yeah. I'm kind of missing a guy like Ben Lively right now, a guy like unsung hero who just go out and throw 6 for you like at a random time. I do miss him. I hope he's doing all right with the guard dogs. But
speaking of former Reds that questionably doing okay, what happened with Nick Senzel this week?
Oh, did you see that?
Yeah. You got in a fight with another of his teammates or something?
Yeah.
So I saw the play. So Mackenzie Gore got upset because he felt that Senzel did not charge a ball hard enough and throw it onto first. And it led to like a 2nd inning run. And then he got in Senzel's face telling him to like field the ball. And I think I'm just imagining Senzel played like the vet card, like who do you think you are? I've got like 5 years in this league and all that stuff. And then the funniest part about it was that during that same bottom of the 2nd, the Nats scored like 7 runs. So it did not matter at all in the long run. But It was pretty funny to see him. And then just today too, Jesse Winker, 8th inning home run against.
He's had a great year.
Yeah. I'm really happy for Jesse. He's really turned it back on. I feel bad that I kind of called him out in that trade because this year you might want to trade back Jesse Winker for Elly if you just look at this year's stats. I mean, I know last year was completely different, but I don't know. Good for Jesse though.
Yeah, sure. I wish all the former Reds well, and sometimes a change of scenery is what those players needed, and that they literally wouldn't have done that well if they stayed on the Reds. So,
yeah, for sure.
Want to look ahead at the upcoming schedule. We've got a home series with the Red Sox. I think that's a big one. Kind of one of the big tentpole teams, even if they're not having a great year. I think Great American's going to be packed is what I'm getting at. I thought about going this weekend, but I'm going Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday for work on against the Pirates. We're hosting the Pirates. I think Paul Skeens, we'll get to see him again.
Dude, he was sick.
He's
sitting down and watching a full. Oh, man.
So nice little homestand here, and then they got they're going to St. Louis just for one 4-game set, and then I think we're back here through the end of.
No, we go to New York.
New York. Go to
the Bronx.
Sorry, and then we are back until the.
You see that 10-game set though, Don? I know what we said. I
saw the tweet today, you guys. I thought we were giving up on that stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't
Steve.
say the words though.
You said that. I'm like, I'll just get to. I was getting flashbacks of. I'll just get to.
I thought we swore off that stuff for good last podcast.
I didn't say the easy. I didn't say the word.
Back on the schedule, Spice. My God.
Now we're gonna get smoked by the Rockies here right before the.
God dang it!
Game sweeper. Yeah, they're coming back to give us the flavor. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to bank on that. But if you get to there, you got to feel good about what you can do in a home set against those 3 teams. Now, for whatever reason, we never play well against the Tigers, and then the Rockies and Marlins are just going to have the week of their season and just take care of us. So maybe I just think of it the other way, But
just leak the tweet.
Yeah. But I do think though that it's either like this is the right time where we figure out, like you were saying, Don, like by the All-Star break, we're going to know if we're buying or selling. I don't really think we have too much crazy to sell, but
that's part of what I was getting at with the conversation about the NL being so bunched up. I mean, we're 4 or 5 games under 500 and we're less than 2 games from a wild card spot. If you're like, that's totally possible to still be in that position a month from now. We could be 4 games under 500 and right in the mix, which is like a weird spot to be. Like, should a team that's 4 games under 500 be buyers? Not really, but they're one good series. They're a series sweep of a good team from being in a wild card spot. So it's a weird year. Still a lot of baseball left, but and so they need to beat up on those bad teams. You're right about that for sure, and they need to play well against the divisional opponents, the Cardinals and Pirates here coming up, and then intermixed with that, we got the Red Sox and the Yankees. Yankees are the hottest team in baseball, of course. But hey, if you can steal 1 or 2 there in each of those series, I think you're in an okay place. We talked last episode a lot about like where we felt we needed to be at each of these like kind of marks in the season, whether it's each month or at the All-Star break. It was volatile. We didn't really expect the big 7-game win streak. We didn't really necessarily expect to start losing a little bit more after that. But if you were to just look at their record right now and look at where they were when we had that conversation, I think we're okay. We're in the right spot. We're getting Marte back. Hopefully, they're getting something figured out with the pitching. And hey, they're right where they need to be. Unfortunately, we're not quite running away with the division like we could have dreamed. But I think we're in the right spot.
Yeah, I think if they're at this like 4 or 5 games under by the All-Star break is when I'm going to start getting a little worried. But as of right now, they got some time to make up some ground. Get it back to get it to at 500 at least by the All-Star break.
Yeah, we're officially like a month out, right? Like it would be a month from this week until like All-Star break. So yeah, and it's good to have. I think there's we only have 7 more road games, and the rest of our games are at home for that stretch. Yeah. So hopefully you can take advantage of some good play at home, and like just really be able to build that up, because it is nice to not have to go on the road except for the St. Louis and New York series.
And here's hoping that we don't do that thing we did last year where we were the hottest team in baseball right before the All-Star break, and then somehow the 5 days off just completely deflates the team and we start sucking again.
So, well, they lose like 6 games in a row or something stupid like that after the All-Star break last year.
Yeah.
Well, you know who we played right after the break? The Brewers.
We played them before and after the break, right?
Yeah.
That was really weird.
Yeah. So I'm glad that that's not happening again, because they seem to just kind of break us.
We do not play good baseball again. We don't play enjoyable baseball to watch against the Brewers. It's like if we somehow scrape out a win, it was just not fun. Playing them is just not a fun experience.
I thought the Gardos playing against the Guard Dogs, and then honestly the Mets too. Like those two kind of teams are like, because Stearns, who was with the Brewers, is now like running the Mets. Like it's just such an unappealing brand of baseball to watch. Is just the other team scores 3 runs and sits on you for the rest of the game, and the Reds can never break it. Like they can never do it.
But if your team's doing that to the other team, then it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, screw them. I love that baseball. I love that style. Always have.
Oh yeah,
good stuff.
If the Reds could score 3 runs on every team every night and just sit on for 7 innings, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
We'd be on this podcast talking about how good this team is.
Oh yeah.
Instead of saying like, we got to be bat 500 by the All-Star break if we have a shot,
Yeah. Well, apparently, like, I have not looked into the data again myself. Like, do your own research, I guess. But the Twitter nerds have been saying there's been a lot of hard hit balls recently, and they're seeing that as a sign for the offense to be able to break out. I don't know if I fully believe that just yet, but the Giants, the Red Sox got some like really good pitchers coming in this weekend, like Crawford, Pivetta, and then I don't remember who's starting on Sunday, but they've both been pretty serviceable this year. And the Red Sox are kind of a weird team because they don't really have like a ton of huge names, or they're your normal Red Sox, but they've been hovering around 500 for the whole year. So I'm excited to see them. It's going to be Abbott, Crawford on Friday, and then Montas and Pavetta on Saturday. No starters yet for Sunday. So check your local listings.
There you go. And speaking of like the next week's game, I was thinking of, so I'm going to the Tuesday night game. The 3-2-1 deal, of course, they'll have $3 beers there. And that reminds me that the last week's last home Tuesday night game was when we had a 19-year-old streaker running on the field who got tased after
I was at that game.
Running around the outfield. That was a pretty awesome moment. I'm hoping that doesn't start a trend of all these drunk idiots out there, and then we're going to get $3 beers taken away.
Yeah.
But, I thought that was pretty funny. It made national headlines, or in the baseball and online community. It wasn't just one of those things that everyone else was commenting on. I thought it was fun, pretty harmless. The kids seemed like just having some drunken fun and didn't do anything.
I thought I saw a clip of Sadak's call while it happened, and it was just so funny because he just sounded so hard to be above it all when that happened, and he just sounded just kind of pompous in that situation. But it was just funny.
Yeah. Cleves, Ohio's finest, right there. So.
There you go.
There you go.
Coming from my neck of the woods.
Yeah, Ohio State student. I think he went to my high school too.
Oh well, I mean, can't get them all, but hey, he went to Ohio State, so they're the ones that are correcting him.
Yeah, nothing sure doesn't help the reputation of us being all these privileged rich kids when you think you're good enough to just run on the field and all that, and not.
Well, I mean, did you see who his grandma is?
Yeah, she's literally a judge. She was in the courtroom.
Yeah. He got off of felony charges. I love it. You have your own thoughts on that, I guess. But
there you go.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah,
like I said, it's funny.
I thought the felony charge was a little much, honestly. Truthfully.
Yeah. Once the season's fine, if we start making this a trend, that puts my $3 beers in danger, and I'm not okay with that.
Yes.
So
yes.
I agree.
Stay in the bleachers. Just keep drinking your beer there. Save it for another time. But
Tuesday night's your best opportunity to do a nine beer, 9 dog, 9 inning game. So if you
I will say I got the dogs last time I did that, and they were really bad.
Yeah,
I think part of that is I got the hot dogs right at the beginning of the game, and so they were ones they probably had been prepping. You got thousands of people coming. You don't start prep at 6:30. So those hot dogs, I don't know how long they'd been sitting there, man, but they were not good. And I think I actually saw someone get one in the 5th inning, and it looked nice and fresh. So I might just wait next time.
Yeah.
I also quick boots on the ground report for you. I'd mentioned this. I went out to Los Angeles for work last week, and I went to my first Dodgers game.
Cool.
Man, that was a cool experience. It's you go up the hill to the ballpark. It's surrounded by these parking lots, but it's kind of a cool vibe.
It's kind of in a park almost.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's nestled in this ravine, but at the same time, you go up a hill to get there, and really cool atmosphere. It was Pride Night, so there was a lot of people there having a lot of fun. I'll say that. A lot of alcohol being consumed. I had the local Dodgers blonde ale. I don't know what brewery it was that does that, but they have a Dodgers beer.
Yeah,
I said, we need to get the Reds to do that. But I tried the Dodger Dog, and I've heard mixed reviews on the Dodger Dog. That it's a little overblown. I thought for a ballpark hot dog, I thought it was very good. I was very happy with my Dodgers dog. I was also really hungry, so who knows if that played into it. But big ups on the Dodger dog. It's better than the really crappy 3-hour-old hot dog I had at Great American a few weeks ago.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad you went. We're thinking about going to LA in August or something. So we're
nice.
I might have to see if we can sneak to a Dodger game.
Yeah,
I was there. I think I was there in 2016, summer 2016. They played the Brewers, and it was Alex Wood bobblehead night. Then the next year, he got traded to the Reds.
That's right.
So I have Alex Wood's Dodger bobblehead from that random Wednesday night game against the Brewers in LA.
Nice.
Donnie, what's your most random bobblehead? Do you have bobbleheads?
You know what? I don't know that I've started collecting them more recently. I just have a few of the Reds ones that have come out in the last couple of years.
Gotcha.
A buddy of mine snagged me an Elly bobblehead last week.
Ooh,
oh yeah,
that was
nice.
Shout out to my buddy Logan Deergunner for snagging me an Elly bobblehead.
That was
very quick to do.
The lines were insane.
People were getting there at 4 o'clock and then still not getting bobbleheads or something.
Yeah.
It was people were camped out there. It seems.
Yeah, crazy.
Hey, that's a good sign, though. I want people to be excited about the Reds, even if it's just for a trinket. But hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's a big market thing to do too. Is like have the bobblehead on like a
right.
They said that bobblehead night was the largest weekday crowd they've had at Great American Ballpark besides opening day. I was at the Tuesday night game, and I can tell you for a fact that was the most people I personally have ever seen at Great American Ballpark on a weekday for a game. It was. I mean, obviously it helps they're playing Cleveland, and there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of Indians or Guardians fans around here that a lot of people like to give credit for. But
Rob, you're canceled again.
I stopped myself. I stopped myself.
That's good.
But yeah, it was a good crowd.
Hey, before we get out of here, boys, one last thing. Just want to give a little acknowledgement to one of the greatest baseball players of all time who passed away this week, Willie Mays, at 93 years old. Obviously lived a pretty full life. It is unfortunate timing. He was about to be honored. I don't know all the details on that. It was a Negro Leagues thing.
So he's from Birmingham originally.
Yeah.
He played for the Black Barons in his first professional game at 17. So he wasn't going to make it to the game. He's just, he's 93. So it's like kind of hard for people who are 93 to travel.
Sure.
But he was going to be honored, and he'll still be honored on Thursday. But it is just kind of sad that he unfortunately passed away. I've liked the debate though, and Donnie, I don't know if you were able to listen to the Mostly Sports from today. But
I did listen to that, and so I think it's funny. Everyone has a different definition of like what makes when you talk about the greatest baseball player of all time or something, you don't usually go off. It's hard to say that all encompassing. Usually, you want to talk about who was the best pitcher of all time, who was the best home run hitter of all time, who was the best pure hitter, who was the best whatever, and the best all-around player, rather than, he didn't have a ton of 10 out of 10s, but he had, or he didn't have 1 or 2 10 out of 10s, but he had every single stat was an 8 out of 10 or something. And his ability to field, run, and hit, unmatched basically by anybody else. And I mean, he had 660 home runs, and he was a fast, outfield guy, batted over 300. Those stats are otherworldly compared to today's game. And I think he was really well liked as a person as well. So he's all around one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Definitely top 5. But yes, I did enjoy that debate, and they got a little into it with our nemesis Chris Clever. So
yeah, when you talk about center fielders in Major League Baseball, Willie Mays is still the gold standard.
Yeah.
Some of those clips of him out in that behemoth of an outfield he played in are just crazy.
That Polo Grounds.
They don't necessarily look that impressive until you take a step back and realize that he's like making that play 500 feet from home plate.
Yeah. Well, the funniest thing too is that, not funny, but I think it's your legacy in baseball, in any sport really. But when they compare something that somebody did currently to you constantly, like in any over the shoulder the catch now, you'll hear the announcer say Willie Mays style catch, and obviously, he was even further immortalized with the character in Major League. Run like Mays, hit like Hayes. You may run like Hayes, but you hit like shit. So he just, I don't know, just a legend. And then I was excited about the Rickwood game because it's a ballpark that's older than Wrigley and Fenway. I founded like 2 years before both of those ballparks, those other 2 ballparks were founded. So they're coming back to play a game there on Thursday. They're going to honor all the old like Black Barons and Negro League players that played there. And obviously it was a spring training. Like people, they would stop there. The teams from the North would stop there on their way back from Florida before it was like that last
barnstorming.
Yeah. So it's cool, man. Like it's just a cool part of history. And I don't know, Willie, like I think that's one of those guys that I'd be comfortable with saying that. And the crazy thing is too, is that, he was drafted to go to the war. If he didn't get drafted, I was listening to another show today that said that they did the math on it and that he would have held the home run record for about a good 6 months before Hank Aaron took it from him the year after he retired. Like,
I think he missed 172 games for his military service.
Yeah. So just like if you think about like that,
it was right during his peak too, kind of like the Ted Williams problem, right?
Yeah, like 53 and 54, I think, is whenever he served.
Well, the crazy part is like, yeah, so 52 and 53, Rob, and then 54, he comes back, wins MVP. Like, you take 2 years off a ball, come right back, win MVP, lead your team to the World Series, make that crazy like, just that's like stuff we write about in movies. That's not real. So
I was looking at some of his accolades too, and he was a 24-time All-Star, which
is insane.
He played in that's one of those records that will never be broken or whatever. I don't even know if he holds the record. But he played in that time, if you remember, or not remember, but if you know, they had, I guess they had like a halfway All-Star game and and then one at the end of the year, or at least they did voting. I don't know exactly how it worked. Basically, you could be an All-Star twice in the same season.
Yeah.
And I think he played they didn't always do that. It was like a little, I don't know if they were testing it out, but it was like a decade stretch where that was happening, and he played like every year. So there was like a good stretch where he was probably a 15-time All-Star in like 7 seasons or whatever. But
here you go. Here's the stat. Hank Aaron holds the record for most Major League Baseball All-Star game appearances with 25. Aaron was selected for 21 seasons between 1955 and 1975, and his total also includes 4 seasons, 1959 and 1962, where there were multiple games each year. Willie Mays and Stan Musial are both tied for second place with 24 apiece.
And all those guys played in that era where it was possible. Yeah. No one's ever even 21 seasons is crazy, but that's nuts.
Yeah, I kind of hope they roll in like the current all MLB team with like that All-Star thing. So like I know they just started that, but I kind of like that idea because like NBA does that. But yeah, man, shout out to a legend like Willie Mays, probably one of the best baseball players ever.
Yeah.
If he's not the best, he's certainly top 3, top 5 ever.
Yeah,
no doubt.
All right, boys. Well, this has been a long episode. Lots of good talk. Back to the Reds. I think we're right in it. Fans that are getting frustrated need to remember it's a weird year. The NL stinks. There's an extra wild card spot than there used to be before a couple seasons ago. A lot of good baseball left to be played. We're getting some good players back from injury. A lot of things to be excited about in Reds country. And so we'll be back with you in a couple weeks and hopefully be talking about how we've just broke 500. So
I want to say, with the NL being as down as it is this year, it's like that much more frustrating that the Reds weren't able to remain healthy. Because if they have a full deck of cards, I think they are not running through the National League, but they're certainly above 500. I want to say maybe I would go as far as 10 games above 500.
Be like the Braves right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, none such luck, Rob. So
nope, can't have it all.
That's Cincinnati sports for you a little bit, but hey, we're gonna try to keep it fun and light. We're gonna keep it optimistic for you. You're gonna grow to hate us if you keep listening, just of how much we try to be optimistic. But I think it's more fun that way. So make sure you follow us on all the socials. That'll do it for Reds Country Radio. Go Red Legs.
Go Reds, baby.
Go Red Legs.